I want to tell you a story. A story about a boy from a tiny village in Japan who had no money, no education, and no connections. A boy who loved machines but was told he was not smart enough to build them. A man who made a product, took it to the biggest car company in his country, and was told it was not good enough. A man whose factory was bombed twice in a war, destroyed by an earthquake, and taken from him completely. And then he built one of the largest automobile companies the world has ever seen. His name is Soichiro Honda, and his story will change how you think about rejection, about education, and about what it really takes to succeed. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Loved Machines. Soichiro Honda was born on November 17, 1906, in a small village called Komyo, near the city of Hamamatsu, Japan. His family was very poor. His father was a blacksmith who fixed bicycles. His mother was a weaver. They had 9 children, and Soichiro was the eldest son. There were no cars in his village. There were no factories. There was almost nothing mechanical at all. But one day, when Soichiro was a small boy, an automobile drove through his village. It was one of the first cars he had ever seen. He ran after it. He got down on his hands and knees and smelled the oil it left on the dirt road. He was fascinated. He later said that the smell of that engine oil was the most beautiful smell he had ever known. From that moment, he knew he wanted to work with machines. He wanted to build things. He wanted to understand how engines worked. And this is the first lesson. Sometimes your purpose finds you before you can explain it. It does not come as a clear plan. It comes as a feeling, a pull, a fascination you cannot ignore. Pay attention to what excites you. That excitement is trying to tell you something.
Chapter 2. The Apprentice with No Degree. School was difficult for Soichiro. He was not interested in books or exams. He wanted to use his hands. He wanted to take things apart and put them back together. His grades were terrible. At the age of 15, he left home and traveled to Tokyo. He found a job as an apprentice at an auto repair shop called Art Shokai. He was the youngest worker there. His first jobs were not about engines at all. He cleaned the floors. He watched the owner's baby. He did whatever was asked of him. But he watched everything. Every time a mechanic opened an engine, Soichiro was there, watching, learning, memorizing. He studied machines the way other boys studied textbooks. He did not have a formal education, but he had something more powerful. He had curiosity that never stopped. After 6 years of learning, he returned to Hamamatsu and opened his own auto repair shop. He was only 22 years old. He was good at his work, and customers trusted him. But repairing other people's machines was not enough. He wanted to build his own. And this is the second lesson. Education does not only happen in a classroom. Some of the most important things you will ever learn, you will learn by watching, by doing, and by refusing to stop asking questions. A degree is one path to knowledge. It is not the only path. Chapter 3. Rejected by Toyota. Honda wanted to do more than fix cars. He wanted to manufacture parts. So he started making piston rings, a critical component inside every engine. He spent years experimenting, testing, and failing. He poured everything he had into perfecting his design. When he believed his piston rings were ready, he took them to Toyota, the biggest automobile company in Japan. He was confident. He had worked so hard. He was sure they would say yes. They said no. Toyota's engineers examined his piston rings and told him they did not meet their standards. The quality was not good enough. They rejected him completely. Honda was devastated. People around him told him to give up.
They said he was a mechanic, not an engineer. He did not have the education. He did not have the training. Who was he to think he could make parts for Toyota? But Honda did not give up. He did something that surprised everyone. He went back to school. At the age of 28, he enrolled in a technical school to study engineering. His classmates were teenagers. They laughed at him. His teachers doubted him. He did not care. He studied for 2 years. He improved his piston rings. He went back to Toyota. And this time, they said yes. He won a contract to supply piston rings to Toyota. And this is the third lesson. Rejection is not the end. It is information. When someone tells you that you are not good enough, you have 2 choices. You can believe them, or you can get better. Honda chose to get better, and that choice changed everything. Chapter 4. Bombed, shaken, and stripped of everything. Just as Honda's piston ring factory was growing, the Second World War arrived. Japan was at war, and Honda's factory was forced to produce parts for the military. Then, the bombs came. American planes bombed his factory. He rebuilt it. They bombed it again. He rebuilt it again. Then, in 1945, a massive earthquake struck the region and destroyed what was left. Honda had nothing. His factory was gone. His equipment was destroyed. The war ended, and Japan was in ruins. The economy had collapsed. There was no money, no materials, and very little hope. To make things worse, Honda was forced to sell what remained of his piston ring business to Toyota, the very company that had once rejected him. He sold it for a small amount of money. Years of work, gone. He was 38 years old. He had no factory. He had no company. He had almost no money, and his country was broken. And this is the fourth lesson. Some losses are so big that they seem impossible to recover from. War, disaster, total failure. But losing everything also means you have nothing left to protect. You have nothing left to fear. And sometimes that kind of freedom is exactly what you need to start something completely new. Chapter 5. Bicycles and a Crazy Idea. After the war, Japan was struggling. People could not afford cars. Gasoline was extremely scarce, but people still needed to get around. They rode bicycles. Honda looked at the situation and had a simple idea. What if he could attach a small engine to a bicycle? It would not be a car. It would not be a motorcycle. It would be something in between, something cheap, simple, and useful. He found small surplus engines that had been used by the military during the war. He bought them for almost nothing. He modified them and attached them to bicycle frames. He called his creation the chimney bicycle because the early engines were so smoky. People loved it. They could travel farther and faster without spending much money. The demand was huge. Honda sold every single one he could make. When the surplus engines ran out, he designed and built his own engine from scratch. In 1948, he officially founded the Honda Motor Company. He was 41 years old. And this is the fifth lesson. You do not need a perfect plan. You do not need perfect conditions. Honda did not start with a grand vision to build a car company. He started by putting a small engine on a bicycle. He solved a simple problem with what he had. Great things do not always start big. Sometimes they start with a bicycle and a smoky engine.
Chapter 6. The government said stop. Honda's motorcycles became incredibly popular. By the mid-1950s, Honda was the largest motorcycle manufacturer in Japan. Then, he announced his next goal. He wanted to build cars. The Japanese government's Ministry of International Trade and Industry, known as MITI, told him no. At that time, MITI controlled which companies could enter the automobile market. They believed Japan already had enough car companies. Toyota and Nissan were established. There was no room for Honda. They told him to stay with motorcycles.
They told him he did not belong in the car business. Honda ignored them. He believed that no government agency should tell an entrepreneur what he can and cannot build. He pushed forward with his car plans despite the opposition. He designed his first car, he built his first car, and he proved that the government was wrong. By the 1970s, Honda cars were being sold around the world. The Honda Civic became one of the most popular cars on the planet, especially during the oil crisis, because it was small, efficient, and affordable. Exactly what the world needed. And this is the sixth lesson. Not every no comes from a person. Sometimes the system itself tells you to stop. Rules, regulations, authorities, traditions, they all say stay where you are. But if you know you have something valuable, you have the right to push forward. Respect the rules, but do not let them crush your vision. Chapter 7. A Legacy Built on Respect. Soichiro Honda didn't just build a company, he built a culture. He believed that every worker in his company mattered. He did not care about titles or degrees, he cared about ideas. He once said, "I do not care where a good idea comes from, as long as it is a good idea." He walked the factory floors in his white overalls, talking to engineers, mechanics, and assembly line workers. He got his hands dirty. He tested engines himself. He was not a CEO who sat behind a desk. He was a builder who happened to run a company. He also believed in giving back. He created the Honda Foundation to support science and technology around the world. He wanted young people, especially those without formal education, to know that they could still change the world. Honda retired in 1973 at the age of 67. He spent his later years painting, studying art, and enjoying life with his family. He passed away on August 5, 1991, at the age of 84. Today, Honda Motor Company operates in over 30 countries. It produces more than 30 million engines every year, making it the largest engine manufacturer on Earth. Every single one traces back to a boy who smelled engine oil on a dirt road and never forgot it. And this is the seventh lesson. True legacy is not about how much you build. It is about how you treat the people who build it with you. Honda respected every person in his company. He listened to every idea. And that respect is what made his company last.
Chapter 8. Why this story matters to you. So why does this story matter to you? Because right now, there is something you want to do, and someone or something is telling you that you cannot do it. Maybe someone rejected your work and told you it was not good enough. Maybe you do not have the degree people expect you to have. Maybe the system, the rules, the people around you are all saying, stay where you are, do not try. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been told no and believed it? Have you ever looked at someone more educated, more connected, or more experienced and thought, I could never compete with that? Honda was rejected by the biggest company in his country. His factory was bombed. His factory was destroyed by an earthquake. The government told him to stop, and he built one of the largest companies in the world. He did not have a university degree. He did not come from a wealthy family. He did not have powerful connections. He had his hands, his curiosity, and his refusal to quit. So what can you do right now? First, stop waiting for permission. Nobody is going to tap you on the shoulder and say, now it's your turn. You have to decide that for yourself. Honda never waited for anyone to tell him he was ready. He just started. Second, use rejection as fuel. Every time someone tells you no, let it make you sharper. Go learn what you need to learn, improve what you need to improve, then come back stronger. Third, start with what you have. You do not need the perfect situation. You do not need millions of dollars or a perfect plan.
Honda started with surplus engines and bicycle frames. Start with whatever is in front of you right now. What is the thing you have been putting off? What is the dream you keep pushing to next year? Start it now. Chapter 9. Your engine is already running. Soichiro Honda smelled engine oil on a dirt road when he was a little boy, and he never let go of that feeling. He was rejected, bombed, shaken by earthquakes, laughed at, and told to stop, and he never stopped. He did not succeed because he was the smartest person in the room. He succeeded because he refused to leave the room. He kept learning, he kept building, he kept going. You do not need to be the most talented. You do not need to have the best education. You do not need anyone's permission. You just need to start. And then you need to keep going when the world tells you to stop. Every great company, every great invention, every great life started with one person who decided that no was not the final answer. Let that person be you. Your story is not over. The best chapters have not been written yet. I will see you in the next video.